Look, just thank you very much again for the welcome here, and it's just so good to be in a room with people that are passionate about wool. It's been one of the absolute pleasures actually of getting this role and having. I've become so much more optimistic about the wool industry when I came back into politics after the last election. I was one of those really cynical farmers that didn't really see too much of a future for the wool industry. It seemed to be in a downward spiral. I couldn't see much happening to turn it around, but I now have the privilege of getting under the bonnet a little bit and seeing what's going on out there, and I have never been more confident that we can turn this around. There is a big swing back to natural fibres. If we get this right, and I might talk about that a little bit, we have the chance to, I think, have one of the great turnarounds in terms of New Zealand agricultural commodities. In terms of the wool classes, and I was at the shearing contractors last week, and that this end of the supply chain is absolutely critical. The work that you do, not only harvesting the wool, but particularly around quality assurance. And I cannot emphasise enough, and we've got some industry people, Dave, I think, from Merino New Zealand, up later, and others, I'm sure, during the day, that will talk about the absolute imperativeness of quality. When I'm going around the manufacturers, what I'm hearing quite a bit is the deterioration of the clip is impacting their processes is of concern to them. We're hearing it. I went over to Adelaide last year for the International Wool Conference over there, had the meeting with the Chinese delegation. They mentioned it, and they take roughly a third of our exports or a third of our wool, or they did. So that's I can't stress how important it is, and I'm not pointing the finger at the people in the room. Actually, what's happened here is that farmers have stopped breeding for wool. They've stopped putting the resource into the sheds and trying to just cut costs out in an effort to, I guess, stay viable. So as we start to see the wool price turn, and it has turned, and it will go much higher, I'm hoping, or I'm absolutely believe that it can, that attention, focus to detail and quality in the sheds is going to be a key part of that turnaround. Because if you go to some of these manufacturers, I was in the Summit, it used to be the Summit Wool Spinners, Canterbury Wool Spinners in Oamaru the other day. They mentioned it to me. They showed me, when you go through their processes and you see how impactful it is on their efficiency if they've got to stop the machines all the time and repair breaks and that side of things. It's really, really disruptive compared to their synthetic lines that just, they can run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week without stopping because they're just totally consistent. So that's our competition. We've been disrupted badly by synthetics. We're fighting back, but part of that fight back is definitely doing our job as farmers, as shearing contractors, as wool classes, and wool handling teams. So, I just wanted to impart that. I know that's not news to any of you in this room, but I think the message needs to go out from the people in this room to your farmers when you're there that, hey, let's make sure we focus on this quality. And what I think we'll see quite quickly is that there will be quite a premium start to emerge between the better prepared wools and the not so well. So as Tracy pointed out, we're putting in a really big effort for the wool industry, quite a focus for the government. And in fairness, actually, Damon O'Connor and the last government put a lot of investment in as well. It's actually not about wool so much. I probably shouldn't say that, but it's actually about the viability of hill country sheep and beef farming. We don't want to see New Zealand turn into a massive pine plantation. And one of the things that we can really do about that is turn the profitability of the status quo for sheep farmers, particularly, turn that profitability around by getting more of a return for their wool. And we see some genuine upside in that. So we've put something like about 20 million in. We're probably lucky we wouldn't get that money now in this more constrained fiscal environment. So mostly that money has gone into innovation, trying to, because as much as, the Wool and Government Buildings thing is a really good, I'm really proud that we've done that. And we can't expel the virtues of wool if we're not prepared to use it ourselves, and we were very clear on that. So that is when it will drive some demand. But ultimately, we're not going to turn this around totally by just selling more carpet or more insulation. It's part of it, but it's what are the higher level innovations? What are the higher end uses for the strong wool? We already know the merino, the fine wool's at the very premium end, but what can we do to the strong wool? So if you look at the end uses that have been kind of supported or funded, there's about 20 different projects. So it's things like acoustic tiles, medicinal and sanitary, and things like nappies and sanitary pads, filtration. Wool is very, the Lananco in Auckland, they're getting into the electric car business. They've actually got wool filters in one of the space stations up there, but more efficient for filtration in electric cars. So that is an end use for wool, probably a slightly finer end that could drive some real demand if that, obviously electric cars, millions of them around the world, if we can get wool filtration. Those are the sort of innovations that we need. I was up opening, and there is some real momentum coming with this. I was up Auckland last week opening Ortex, an acoustic panel company. They're an interiors company. They're the company that you might recognise that own the Warriors. They've got 400 or 500 staff based all around the world. They've got existing supply lines, supply chains into and customer bases right through interiors markets around the world. They have gone now into a wool range. It's taken them 4 years to get there. They've gone really deep into the attributes of wool. They've done the numbers on it. The carbon number is their big thing. And they've got a range of carbon negative wool that they're taking to market right now. And they've got I'm told since that launch, they've got a conga line of architects lining up to learn more about it. So it's those sort of things that can support a higher wool price and can actually take some genuine volume. Probably the holy grail is the work, and I'll just acknowledge Tim and the work that Ron's do. The holy grail is the pigments and particles, powders that has been developed essentially almost in this building, isn't it? Which is a great New Zealand innovation story. So breaking wool down into its component parts as a bioagent, primarily at that stage targeting inks and printing and dyes and that sort of thing. It's been a torturous process, I think, Tim, hasn't it? One step forward or two steps forward and one back, but they're right on the cusp of nailing what could be a very significant step change, actually, in how wool is used and at a value that is something that we would not have seen before. So, that's the thing that we've got to hold out some hope that, yes, there's some good stuff happening now. There's some good medium-term stuff happening. And I think look out for the pigments and powders and the Wool Source, which is a subsidiary of Ron. So that's the sort of. So I've got genuine hope. I actually do have genuine hope. This is not just a politician getting up there and blowing some smoke. There's probably a little bit of that, to be fair, but and the other thing that really kind of gives me the hope is it's actually not just the product, it's the people. We've managed to get some really incredible people, and Tim would vouch for me, Tom Hooper, that's doing this pigments and powders. I mean, he could work for any company in the world essentially. He's a genius. He's decided, and he's not a wool guy, but he's just found some properties in wool that interest him, that he thinks he can do some good stuff. But it's attracted some really bright minds like Tom, and there's quite a few other. I mean, I think Tom O'Sullivan and his team are coming in, Flock. They're doing some great stuff. People that actually are motivated, if I give it a common theme, they're actually motivated to do something good for good for the planet, good for their country. They sort of look at this, it's a bit of a passion project for a lot of them. So, we gratefully accept, because that's the only way out. We've got to be able to innovate. It's not just, try to sell more wool to India or China. That's as good as that might be. So, as I said, quality is the key. Clip chip preparation, genetics obviously hasn't helped. Farmers have been rightfully breeding for meat and a little bit into the shedding sheep now, and that's gaining some momentum, and that's a logical choice for farmers to make. So I think what's really focused a lot of the industry's mind is that we're on a burning platform here. If we don't turn this around, farmers are just going to move away from A, wool, or B, sheep totally. And I think I heard a conversation, we've arrived. I think another technology, because we're not the only sector that's innovating. The dairy industry has uptaken these collars. Halter is one of the companies that does the analytics on animals, and you can move them around. I think that we're getting very close to seeing that rolled out in the beef industry in hill country, and I think you're going to see a lot more beef cattle going up into the hill country once that, because that'll be a step change in management and productivity for beef cattle. So I think that's another challenge for the wool sector. So we've got, you will have seen the numbers, the sheep numbers have come down. We're 6.2 million ewes less than what we were 10 years ago. So we just do not have time to muck around. We've got to get everything right. And that starts with you guys in the sheds. It absolutely starts with you guys. If we can't give those manufacturers, we can't get into a high-end market if we haven't got a high-end product going in. So just acknowledge the critical role. The other thing that I did want to say is, from going around, I go around quite a few of the AMP shows around the country, and the shearing competitions. Often there's a shearing competition, or I go to Golden Shears or the New Zealand Shearing Champs. It does look like the broader shearing industry and the wool handling industry's in pretty good heart. I mean, some of the shearers, Toa Henderson is, I've never seen anyone shear sheep like that. But the thing that struck me is how many women are in the sheds now and the shearing and cleaning up in the shearing competitions, and it's really good to see, a broad spectrum of people really contributing. But the last thing I wanted to say, just come down, we do have to, I think the elephant in the room, it was addressed when we're talking about the quality and preparation of the clip. That PETA stuff was incredibly damaging to our image, and yes, at one level that's, that's not something that's widespread. We're not, it's the lowest common denominator stuff. And we've got to be careful, and we have been careful as government and MPI to acknowledge that. Most people are out there doing a really good job. But also there's probably some aspects of those videos that you would recognise too, and I think we've got to be honest about that. All of us have got a role to play in making sure that that sort of behaviour is called out or stopped in its tracks, because I know that we have lost markets through that. You might think you're in the back blocks of, Marlborough or Southland down a gravel road, but you can be beamed around the world and go viral in minutes these days. This is a different world we're in, and we've got to take that really seriously. If we don't, we're letting down the reputation of the whole industry that so many of you people in this room have worked so hard to build. So we need to show some respect around that later. The other thing I did mean to say, Tracy, because you've mentioned up in your slide, the vocational training side of things. So we're just about to bring the vocational education bill back into the Parliament, or our sort of replacement to the Te Pūkenga model. So I can assure you that there's been a really heavy focus on practical skills like shearing and wool handling, recognising that those skills are more expensive to deliver, because you can't just put 200 people in a lecture theatre and one lecturer. You actually need some pretty intensive one-on-one training. So we are recognising that. Hopefully the model will show that we are provisioning for those likes of the Telford course and that to carry on. So.